G'day, it's been 2 days since Red Bull sacked team principal Christian Horner, and since then new and important details have emerged. Let's take a look. It appears now that the catalyst for Red Bull relieving Christian Horner of his team principal duties was a heated discussion between Red Bull communications manager Paul Smith and Jos Verstappen after Sunday's race. That discussion then involved Christian, and Jos was not mincing his words with him either. And could you please check that you're subscribed, because a lot of you may think you are but are surprised when you find out you're not. Thanks in advance. On Wednesday morning, all the Red Bull staff were asked to join an urgent meeting. Some 200 plus people headed to the MK7 building in Milton Keynes, which I visited last week. Another 500 or so joined on teams to watch. What they witnessed was tough to comprehend. Christian spoke to the team from the heart, explaining he was being relieved of all of his duties, although he would still remain on the payroll. At that meeting, there were tears, and plenty of them, both from the staff and from Christian. When he'd finished speaking, there was a rousing ovation that went on until he departed the stage. Being no doubt he is highly regarded by most, if not all, at the Milton Keynes campus. After all, he'd been there longer than almost everyone and had presided over 6 constructors and 8 drivers' championships, 405 races, 287 podiums, 107 pole positions, and 124 wins. He'd been at the track to watch every one of Red Bull's races. That's 405 over his time. Yes, he was a straight shooter and well comfortable in front of the media, but he'd come under intense media scrutiny since early 2024. Between Sunday night and Tuesday lunchtime, there was plenty going on back in Salzburg at Red Bull GmbH's headquarters before Christian was told he was sacked. Now, there's been much discussion as to whether or not it was at Jos's insistence that the board fired him, most probably under the threat of Max leaving if Christian wasn't gone. As I said in my video of Wednesday night, Jos holds immense power in that team, along with Dr. Helmut Marko. If that was the case, Jos has definitely got his way, and by virtue of that, you'd think Max will continue on with the team for at least another year to see how the 2026 Red Bull goes. Today, Thursday, Max was back in Milton Keynes working on the sim, improving the car. He was also very keen to make sure that the team knew that he was still involved, he was still invested in Red Bull. He is their number 1 driver. And his manager, Raymond Vermeulen, put out a statement yesterday saying, "We were briefed in advance by Red Bull's management that this decision had been made. It's up to Red Bull to provide further explanation regarding the reasons. We continue to focus on the sporting side, and we are looking for more performance so we can return to the top. In that regard, nothing changes." Late on Wednesday night, Christian posted a lengthy goodbye post on Instagram, thanking his friends, peers, and competitors. And while he could have vented his anger, he chose not to. And while I did ask myself if Paul Smith might have written that, I don't think he did. I think this was written from the heart, as was his speech to the crew on Wednesday. Now, going back to Paul Smith's departure, someone had to step in to sort things out, like the press release, which we received on Wednesday morning, Central European time. That responsibility fell on the shoulders of Red Bull's global head of sports network, Thomas Niewasser. I imagine Thomas will also be at the Belgian GP to handle the media there, although long-term they will need to find a replacement for Paul. Some are suggesting that Alice Hedworth might be the one to take Paul's place. This morning, Thursday, the day after the formal announcement of Christian's departure, the team posted a glowing video tribute to him on their website and Instagram page. This was a nice touch, but many would say it's a little rich to sack a guy mid-season and then in the next breath wax lyrical about all the things he'd done for the team. This morning there was another Red Bull staff meeting. This one was hosted by Oliver Mintzlaff, Red Bull GmbH's CEO. He addressed the staff this morning, pointing out what had happened was now behind them and urged them to move on. He then introduced Laurent Mekies and Alan Permain to the group. Then it was time for Dr. Marko to speak. He pressed home the need to do well on track and secure points in order to show Max that the team can be competitive and minimise the chances of him moving teams in the future. If that happens, and it's not inconceivable, Red Bull could very quickly become a bottom-tier team. Laurent Mekies spoke too. He let the team know that he was thrilled to be there and urged everyone to ignore the noise and focus on the future. On the sponsor side of things, many were given the heads up just prior to the announcement. That's common practice in this sort of event. The last thing a team wants is for sponsors to find out about this through the general media. It's best coming straight from the team, although they weren't told of the exact reasons for Christian's departure, and I doubt that we'll ever get a full explanation. Bernie Eccleston has commented on the sacking, saying Christian was treated like he'd murdered someone. Bernie spoke with Christian on the Monday after the British GP, and Christian didn't know he was being sacked, or at least didn't choose to tell Bernie. Bernie thinks there's more to his sacking than just poor performance, and I think most would agree with him. It's fortunate, or perhaps well planned, that there is a long gap between the British Grand Prix and the next race. That time's important for a number of reasons. The team can now make the necessary changes without rushing. They'll update their websites, rearrange commitments, moving Laurent into Red Bull.
Try to meet as many of our people as possible, to listen to them, to try to understand this beautiful magic machine that is Red Bull Formula One, and eventually find ways to contribute and to support.
And getting Alan settled at VCARB. There's also more time for the internal chatter to reduce. It'll be old news by the time we reunite in Spa, and fans will hopefully have come to grips with the new landscape by then. So what is the mood amongst the staff at Milton Keynes? One word that kept coming up was deflated. After all, Christian was Red Bull. You take away the main man and suddenly you have a lot of lost sheep. The next two races are at circuits that don't favour Red Bull, so things may not improve for a couple of months, if at all. There's no doubt this year has been a shocker at Red Bull. They demoted Liam Lawson for Yuki Tsunoda, have been disappointing on track, and now have lost 3 key people. Whether Christian's sacking was too harsh or long overdue is a matter of opinion. I figure there was a pretty even split amongst the comments on my YouTube video and social media posts, so it's not something that we're likely to get full agreement on anytime soon. So what's next for Christian Edward Johnston Horner? If he's still keen to jump back on the horse, certainly Ferrari's an option, and a lot of you figured that that might be the favourite team. Well, I'd be surprised if that happened. That would require him to uproot his family and move to Italy. Aston Martin might be another option, but I'm not sure if Adrian Newey would be for that. I think if he's keen to get back into Formula One, and we don't know if he is, Alpine would be the favourite. The Enstone factory is not far from where he lives now, and while he'd be starting at the far end of the paddock, there'd be much less pressure, and he would have the opportunity to shape the team as he did with Red Bull, if Flavio gives him full rein. But I understand Flavio is quite a hands-on guy, likes to have his finger in every pie, so that might be a sticking point. And my last pick of Christian, well, that was taken on Sunday on the grid, talking to Jeremy Clarkson. One thing's for sure though, this is Formula One, and anything can happen. Before you go, could you please hit the like button? And for those not subscribed, a quick press on this button will solve that. Thanks for watching.
And stay passionate.
Christian then became involved, and Jos, fucking hell, let's just hope. There was plenty going on back in Salzburg at Red Bull's